Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. Upon the 24th hour, wait, what? An official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. On the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, God bless the world. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. He said, good game, guys. Well played. He said, GGWP. Fox News is live with J.D. Vance explaining the ceasefire.
Destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
I want to get to the obliterated part in just a minute, but I just want to read this fully so I get the context here. Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point, the ceasefire for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the world. He seems confident that this is all coming together.
That's right.
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And it's, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks,
I think they kicked the can down the road.
Failed effort to build a nuclear weapon is that they're just not very good.
I don't think.
And I think the
I do not
really
think Israel. By the way, ironically enough, America didn't have to fucking respond at all to this. They could have just done this without trying to blow up the Iranian nuclear facility. Make no mistake. They could have also stopped Israel from even fighting in Iran at all. They accomplished nothing except for more death for no reason, created panic, and basically Israel ate a bunch of missiles for the first time ever in its 77-year history that was actually consequential. Having said that, however, I do think that Israel's ambitions for destabilizing Iran have not gone away. That is still their ultimate goal. So we shall see how they behave going forward.
And the Israelis and the Iranians have been shooting at each other. I think there's some recognition that that might continue for another few hours. And tomorrow really is a new day. The end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program. And I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
So you said totally obliterated. The president has said totally obliterated the Iran nuclear program.
Yeah.
Do you know for sure where all the highly enriched uranium is?
Well, Brett, I think that's actually not the question before us. The question before us is, can Iran enrich the uranium to a weapons-grade level, and can they convert that fuel to a nuclear weapon? And we know, based on the success of our mission, of course, the leadership of the president, but the incredible skill of our military, that the two mission objectives are completely successful. We know that they cannot build a nuclear weapon. Now, you asked about the highly enriched uranium.
Yeah, like 900 pounds of it.
But what we know, Brett, is that uranium is something that exists in very large supply. Our goal was to bury the uranium, and I do think the uranium is buried, but our goal was to eliminate the enrichment and eliminate their ability to convert that enriched fuel into a nuclear weapon. I think this is an important point, Brett, because so many of the folks who have focused on the highly enriched uranium,
sure, 60%.
The main focus, Brett, has been to destroy their enrichment capacity, because we don't want that 60% uranium to become 90% uranium. That's the real concern, and that's what was so successful about our mission.
So after all this, if the Iranian government survives as is, what's to stop it from rebuilding over time if they, in fact, moved the 60% highly enriched uranium? That's the concern.
No, the big concern, Brett, and this is, again, what we destroyed, is their ability to enrich uranium. If they have 60% enriched uranium, but they don't have the ability to enrich it to 90%, and further, they don't have the ability to convert that to a nuclear weapon, that is mission success. That is the obliteration of their nuclear program, which is why the president, I think, rightly is using that term. But here's the question. If Iran is desperate to build a nuclear weapon in the future, then they're going to have to deal with a very, very powerful American military again. Our hope is that the lesson that the Iranians have learned here is, look, we can fly a bunker buster bomb from Missouri to Iran completely undetected without landing once on the ground,
knew that
and we
already.
can destroy whatever nuclear capacity
Everyone
you build
knows
up.
this.
I think
What do
that
you
lesson
mean?
is what's going to teach them not to rebuild their nuclear capacity.
Yesterday, were you speaking on the president's behalf when you said he was not interested in regime change?
Well, Brett, what I've said is the American military, that is not our mission as regime.
They did this in 2002. They did this in Afghanistan. It was like, what? When was it? The longest running bombing mission was conducted by the same plane 20 years ago.
Again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? MIGA.
Well, I think what the president is saying very clearly, Brett, is if the Iranian people want to do something about their own leadership, that's up to the Iranian people. What the American national security
Of course,
interest here
Iran
is
agreed to
very
a
simple.
ceasefire. They can carry on their nuke program in peace now. Dude, if they don't make nukes, they're so dumb. And I do suspect that they don't, so we'll see. But I could totally see them not doing nukes.
Artificial intelligence, hardware, they want to sort of come into the new economy. And that was impossible when you had Iran that was, as the president said, acting like a bully across the Middle East. We really think that if the Iranians are smart about the path forward,
Iran was acting like a
dawn
bully.
of an economic age of prosperity. Of course, for our Gulf Arab allies, for us, for the Israelis, for everybody. But it's going to require the Iranians play it smart from here.
The president called it very weak, the Iran missile firing on the U.S. base in Qatar, Al Udeid. Was it a face-saving move? How do you get from that, firing missiles at a U.S. base, to a ceasefire, as he details in this Truth Social?
Well, as the president said, they actually gave us some warning here. And we think they gave us some warning because they didn't want to kill Americans and they didn't want to escalate. There's definitely some symbolism to this, Brett. If you look at the Iranian attack, it was 14 missiles that they telegraphed ahead of time. We dropped 14 bunker buster bombs. As the president told me earlier, our missiles, our bombs were a little bit bigger than their bombs. Our bombs actually accomplished the...
I can't believe it. He did it again. Donald Trump did it again. He broke something for no reason and then let chaos unfold for an extended period of time, only to turn around and be like, look at how big of a savior I am. Does this man ever do anything that is not within the Trump playbook, where he just goes in, breaks something, and then it says he's going to continue breaking it, and then stops the further breaking process? Half of the shit's broken already, and goes, look how amazing I am. I just stopped. I could have broken way more. This is insane. He did it. He did the exact same thing on everything, from tariffs to any number of different things that he says he's going to do. It's always a spectacular failure. And the people are basically begging him not to do it from the start, only to turn around and be like, well, deportations. That's another one. People are like, dude, if you do these deportations, like, you're going to disrupt key sectors of business. Like there is a lot of migrant workers in a lot of these places. Like this is a tremendous instability. He's like, nope, we're doing it. And then he goes, actually, you know what? No more are we doing deportation for the good immigrants. They're working in the farms. Then why did you do it to begin with? It's everything from the wall to immigration to war.
Regime, because it's evil and horrible and has done
firing government employees only to rehire them instantly. It's only been 5 months, man. It's only been 5 months since this asshole came into power. And he's basically done this. He's done this like 100 different times. It's so
classified
stupid.
Documents. They trust the president to do a good job. But importantly, Brett, I think he's threaded the needle quite well here. We had a very particular objective. It was profound and difficult to accomplish.
Do you think
the elimination of the Iranian nuclear program.
Do you think they were close?
And I think the president successfully did that. You're asking, were the Iranians close to a nuclear weapon? Brett, they were very close to a nuclear weapon. And what I encourage my fellow Americans to think about here is that a week ago, the Iranians were quite close to achieving a nuclear weapon. Now they cannot build a nuclear weapon. That is the biggest testament to the president's leadership and to the success of our mission. In 1 week, without, thank God so far, not losing a single American casualty, we have taken what was a threatening nuclear program that could have destabilized the entire world.
I'm thinking about it.
Now
Has there been a single real problem that this man has solved?
And also some very
Has there been a single real problem?
You're going to do an interview. You get a true social seconds.
Republicans just
You have
invent
some but it's
hysterically and then take initiative to quote unquote fix the problem that doesn't even exist that they hallucinated. And in the process of quote unquote fixing this problem that didn't even exist, they create a ton more chaos and a fuck ton more problems, only to then have the population begging to stop.
So I knew exactly.
And then they do actually end up stopping. And then they're like, come on, we're the savior. We are your salvation. We did it.
Stop doing it in people's business. The vice president knows what I'm trying to accomplish. And if I get it done, great, because we're going to talk about it and celebrate it, because it is a thing to celebrate. I can't emphasize this enough, Brett.
COVID-19 vaccines were created on Trump's watch. Yeah, that's it. That's his signature accomplishment. That and the stimmy checks. Amazing.
Here's some other headlines tonight. Falling oil prices sent stocks up. The Dow surged 375. The S&P 500 finished ahead 57. The Nasdaq jumped 184. First major heat wave of the summer is hitting much of the nation. Temperatures soaring 10 to 20 degrees above average for more than 200 million Americans. Highs in the 90s, even creeping into the low 100s. The prosecution in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial expected to conclude its case tomorrow. Today, the jury viewed additional video recordings of the sex marathons that have played a prominent role in the case. Prosecutors have cited the drug-fueled multi-day events as evidence of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges. The U.S. Supreme Court.
I need everyone to understand something. If this ceasefire holds, and I need you to understand this. This did not have to happen at all. I cannot think of a dumber way that this could have gone. Like, no, Tehran is being hit right now because Israel oftentimes does one major barrage before they have to implement. Israel always goes all out on the last day of the ceasefire. They do that with Lebanon. They did that on the numerous short-term ceasefires in Gaza. I don't know if there's Iranian confirmation on the ceasefires yet, so I don't even know what that fucking means. But Israel usually will go all out in their last barrage of missiles
that took part in Saturday's U.S. strikes on Iran. Congressman, really appreciate your time. Just to start with the breaking news, what is your understanding of what the president just announced? Has the House conference been briefed on this ceasefire?
Well, no, we haven't. I just arrived back from our district and Whiteman Air Force Base, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But look, Phil, this is what
CNN said Iran did not accept it. We don't know yet. Dude, first of all, I told you, Iran is the chillest. Ironically enough, Iran is restrained to a fault. So it would not shock me at all if they said yes to this ceasefire. I told you this before. Iran is a glutton for fucking punishment, dude. Are you kidding me? They love it. They love getting whipped around and then going, oh yeah, we don't want any more, please. Iran has not received a ceasefire proposal. Trump announces a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Oh my God. I wonder if he just told Israel this and then tweeted it out with the hopes that Iran will say yes, because he knows Iran will most likely say yes. Why is Iran being so chill? Because they are that's a weird way to say that. No, it's not a weird way to say that. They literally will get dominated over and over again by Israel and America, as they have so far, with the hopes that like America will stop punishing them super hard. God, we are living in the dumbest. This is the dumbest order of events, only to be even dumber tomorrow. That is a guarantee. But yeah, Iran said yes. Update: Iranian sources confirmed that the ceasefire with Israel has been agreed. According to one source, the truce will go into effect at 3:30 a.m. Jerusalem time. Is this not a big Iran W? They held out against nonstop strikes and did a significant amount of damage to Israel. I think it's not as bad for Iran as what could have happened. So yes, it is definitely I think they're decently positioned on this. People that say no are not factoring in Israel's ambition here. I don't think this is over. I don't think this is over at all. And if it's actually over, it's only because Iran actually depleted the Israeli air defenses, which would be a pretty solid W. Chatters are saying this doesn't seem like it's real. It seems so sloppy. Yeah, that's the Trump administration. What do you mean? It's the Trump administration, dude. What is your expectation from these guys? This is how they operate. This is who they are.
It was an incredibly impressive operation. We'll see if it leads to what the president and you hope for in the days and weeks ahead. Congressman Mark Alford, really appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, Phil. Take care.
And up next, we'll continue to follow the breaking news. President Trump just announced a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Says it will begin in the next 6 hours. I'll get reaction from a former Army Lieutenant General who has extensive.
Live Aid, when rock and roll took on the world. Premieres July 13th on CNN.
It can be
big for peace in the Middle East.
Vice President, moments ago, talking about this breaking news, the response from Iran to the weekend attacks and President Trump's announcement of a ceasefire and how that all goes. We're going to talk about that in the future. Joining us, two experts on Iran, Kareem Sajipour, he's of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and Norm Rule, a former CIA and Office of the Director of National Intelligence Manager for Iran. Norm, let me start with you.
Both are assets.
The ceasefire and the Truth Social, and I asked the Vice President about it. There's a healthy dose of skepticism because the Iranians don't have a great track record of meeting whatever they talk about, either publicly or privately. Is that fair?
That's more than fair.
I'm going to keep it $150. This is not as much as an Iranian victory as it is kind of a major L for Israel. This is not as much of an Iranian victory, but it is a ginormous L for Israel. Israel came in, wanted to actually up any kind of like standing that Iran might have, pushed America into it, got their pushed it in the process, at least their air defenses, and now can't even, unless things change, and chatters, things might change. Remember, Israel's a very dangerous, very unstable government, but this was a spectacular L for Israel. Because their goal, and this is not a secret, their goal is Iran becoming a failed state. Their goal is to basically erode the Iranian state capabilities and to have them never be able to send missiles that penetrate the Israeli defenses ever again. And all they got in the process was like America forcibly coming into the equation. No actual military priorities were accomplished in this process, and they didn't even get to do the full prize, which is regime destabilization, like complete dismantling of the regime, and turning Iran into a fail state. It's crazy. Several airstrikes within the last minutes at northeastern Tehran is a major L for Iran, man. Iran basically declared they have zero deterrence and Israel can go again. Why wouldn't they go for assassinations on Iranian leaders next? As long as there are no troops deployed, the American public will eat it up. No, that's why I said I don't think it's a W for Iran. but it is a major L for Israel. Iran being fooled a third time? Oh, no, for sure. They got nothing, and Israelis felt actual weapons on home soil. Benny's finished as it stands? I don't think so. I don't think he is. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu is finished after this. No real announcement from Khamenei, by the way. Why would Iran agree with the ceasefire while Israel's still bombing? Every country in the region knows that when Israel is at the precipice of a ceasefire, they bomb extra hard. Weird. Axios says Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire that will begin in 6 hours. This makes no sense. No Iranian sources said anything. I'm not even kidding when I say I'm not even kidding. Like, I can see. I don't know what Amwaj Media's this is breaking news that will be continuously updated. Iran and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire. Morandi said it's fake. No ceasefire, fake news. Zionists are in trouble. I don't know. I think Iran will eat the ceasefire at any off ramp that Iran will get, they'll take. I think as much as I respect Syed Mohammed Morandi, I think I could see America being like, oh, it's a ceasefire, we did it, without telling Iran, knowing full well that Iran will most likely take on the ceasefire or something. I'm actually surprised this is successful deterrence. I mean, 12 hours for Israel to begin ceasefire, but 6 hours for Iran. This seems very strange to give Israel 6 hours of unrestrained and unopposed attacks on Iran. Yes, it could be another trick from the Trump administration. Don't know why the Iranian government would agree to such a idiotic proposal. Trump's claim for a ceasefire agreement between the Zionist regime and Iran. Donald Trump claimed a ceasefire agreement to end the war between the Zionist regime and Iran. Meanwhile, CNN reported citing a senior Iranian official that Tehran had not received any ceasefire proposals. A senior Iranian official told CNN that Iran will continue to fight until a lasting peace is achieved and considers Israeli and American statements to be a deception to justify attacks on Iranian interests. The official said at this very moment the enemy is attacking Iran and Iran is on the verge of escalating its retaliatory attacks and is not listening to the lies of its enemies. The funny thing about misdirection as a war tactic is that you can only credibly use it once before it's nullified. Trump did that with the initial Israel attacks on Iran, but now they've painted themselves as untrustworthy in perpetuity over it. No, but it doesn't matter. When you're the most powerful state, it doesn't matter. People are desperate to believe you. You know what I mean? Let's see what Al Jazeera is saying.
That I don't want to be too hopeful is that we see the continuation of Israeli strikes, whether or not this social media post is going to be translated into real, let's say, peace or real suspension of the strikings between the two sides remains to be really seen. We have to keep in mind that there are several points in this regard. First, we have to wait to see whether Iran is going to accept that proposal. Second, we are not sure if Israelis are going to accept that proposal because of the very fact that we see the continuation. Also, by nature, this is not a fair proposal. You just give some time for one of these sides to continue their strikes, ask the other to keep silent, and go on with just being silent and then receiving more and more attacks targeting your territories. That doesn't seem fair, and of course this is going to be something that should be taken into consideration when it comes to Iran's calculations. And at the time being, Iran is trying to use the most possible amount of strategic precision when it comes to the next steps down the road. And also there is one important point that also, Cyril, we have to keep in mind. The Iranians are saying that they're going to continue to strike back as long as the Israeli strikes continue. The reality on the ground is far from that point that we can see a ceasefire at the time being, since they are continuing. And also, it was the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a couple of days ago, coming out to say that Iran is not going to accept any imposed peace. If this recent statement by U.S. President is going to be considered as an imposed peace, obviously based upon the previous statements, we can say that Iran may not accept it. But still, we don't have any official statement. We don't have any official.
What if this is a way to be like, oh, Iran, like just lie and say Iran told us that we accepted a ceasefire only to continue bombing Israel, so we have to actually be the peacekeepers in the region and attack Iran, maybe. I don't know. I don't know anymore. This is not a normal state. America, I'm saying this with 100% sincerity. I know this is probably shocking for some people to hear, Because your expectation is that like the United States of America is supposed to be this like honest actor here. But I can't trust America's statements. I definitely can't trust Israel. And I 100% in this process, at least, trust the Iranian side and their assessment of the situation or what they are saying a lot more than I do America. They're not the ones who were like, oh, let's do a negotiation and then attacked. I mean, we're doing a war, but it wasn't a war before Israel made it a war. What do you mean? You can't say we're doing a war.
Donald Trump says
it literally wasn't a war before Israel decided it is supposed to be a war. Breaking CNN citing an Iranian official, Tehran has not received any proposal for a ceasefire. The statements of Israel and the United States are a trick to justify attacks on Iranian interests, and at this moment, the enemy is attacking Iran. I will say, Israel does actually increase the intensity of the strikes right before, and they have increased the intensity of the strikes today. So right before a ceasefire happens, Israel notoriously will blow up way more than they normally do. Yet another reason why you should not trust them ever. I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. I don't know. An incredibly stupid spectacle. Iran's semi-official mayor's new agency casting doubt on Trump, alleging of a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, preceding the publishing of the text of his announcement with the headline, "Liar Trump's imaginary plan to establish a ceasefire." Iran issues evacuation warning for Tel Aviv residents. Okay. That means that they're still striking Israel. Iran has issued an evacuation warning for the residents of Israel's Ramat Gan district near Tel Aviv. The move comes shortly after an Israeli military spokesman issued a similar warning to the residents of an area in Iranian capital Tehran, saying the army would be launching an attack. Bro, what the is happening? I don't know anymore. What? I'm sorry. This is the stupidest. What? Scroll down. Keep reading. Why are you saying scroll down? Why? There's nothing else. It's like older shit. There are no W's for Iran as long as the U.S. is allowed to do shock and awe. Air superiority warfare. U.S. will have favorable trades when it comes to exchanging bombs. It will only escalate. They normalize killing Iranian generals and calling it a special operation as if it's not escalating a war. Why wouldn't U.S./Israel push it further in a month? They will. I think they will. That's why I'm saying it's not a W for Iran at all. People who say this is a major W for Iran are coping. Iran is weak. Like in 2020, when Donald Trump executed Qasem Soleimani, Iran was still weak, and it didn't show any significant retaliatory measures to make any of the surrounding nations that played a role in this actually suffer repercussions for doing such a severe escalation of violence, for withstanding such a severe escalation of violence from America. Israel flew into Iran amidst negotiations and assassinated multiple IRGC commanders, basically brought fresh faces into the IRGC. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran's attack on Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar came in response to the U.S. aggression. He said Iran will be ready to respond again in case of further action by the U.S., according to a statement posted by the Foreign Ministry's account on Telegram. That this is meaningless. Okay, yeah, they'll do another symbolic
Trump's
retaliation.
word with a grain of salt when he's like, total victory. We don't know if it's total victory yet.
Yeah, and to be clear, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but like the reason why I'm saying I'm still trying to think through how to think about it, like there's just a lot of detail, plus decades of failed negotiations or pulling out or stringing along of these particular players and actors in this particular region.
Here's my insane conspiracy hour. Are you ready for this? Wee woo, insane conspiracy alert. Let's say Mossad has actually deeply, deeply penetrated the IRGC and they assassinated the top level leadership, the highest level of loyalty. And actually all these other people that are in the IRGC that are now taking their places are all also pro-Israel people. And then they facilitate a military coup. Obviously, this is unlikely, but I'm saying maybe that's what they're going to do. Who knows? That's why they killed all the high level IRGC people.
Hours, I think, after she posted on
that's my conspiracy.
X, it feels like a complete bait and switch.
I don't believe this, by the way.
The neocons, warmongers,
I don't know. I'm just shooting the shit. Everything is so insane. So, brother, look at what Mossad did with Eli Cohen in Syria. I wouldn't be surprised. It just feels like after Iran stops, Israel will assassinate Ayatollah. I just feel like could that happen? I mean, they would have. I feel like they would have assassinated Ayatollah right now. Like this was their opportunity. I genuinely believe that when Israel started this, they thought they could bring America fully And I think they thought they could withstand. I think they thought they could withstand Iranian counters better than they actually did. So they failed on that front, which actually limited the amount of time that they had to conduct military campaigns. They successfully brought the United States into the conversation, but not beyond the initial point of escalation, especially because Iran did not eat the bait and then severely escalate and punish America or even close the Strait of Hormuz. So now there's this supposedly quote unquote fake ceasefire. Israel did take an L on two fronts. It took an L because it wanted to do the final final solution to Iran, destabilize the Iranian government, destroy it as a state, and it failed to do so. It failed to bring America in to be able to do this final ambition. How is it fake? Well, the Iranian side says that it's not real. Israel is bombing Tehran. Iran is saying that they're going to bomb Tel Aviv any moment now. Doesn't seem like a very good ceasefire proposal. I still think it's probably real, but I don't know. I think you're wrong. Israel predicted they would lose about 4,000 to 5,000 people in a war with Iran, and they only lost about 6. Are you insane? You think the Israeli government was willing to kill 5,000 Jews in Israel so they could bomb Iranian military positions? Do you know how much of a destabilizing force that would be for Israeli society? Israel would be over. They might as well end the government right then and there. Yeah, what they say and what they actually believe is crazy. Brother, who would you ever be able to prove to? Who would you ever be able to prove to that like Tel Aviv is the safest place on the planet for Jews ever again? If Israel's actions amounted to 5,000 Jews dying in the process because they literally decided that they wanted to go to war with Iran, and then Iran just pummeled the residential buildings and pummeled the neighborhoods and even the bunkers and shit like that, it would be over. That the Israeli project is done. America would also join I think America would probably join the fight the moment that like more than 25 elderly Jewish people died. They also failed at keeping the war going on for longer, so attention come back to Gaza to some extent, if this report is true. 50 civilians seeking aid were massacred earlier today, as in many other days, but it got negligible media coverage. Usually this would be on the front page of Haaretz, but everything is full of Iran now, and I'm sure this is true to an extent internationally. It absolutely is. No one is even remotely talking about Gaza. I have here, but I have yet to see any serious coverage being talked about in Gaza. The one senator, much props, is given here, is Chris Van Hollen. Chris Van Hollen tweeted yesterday, released a statement saying 400 plus Palestinians were slaughtered on their way to receive aid, to get aid, while since the beginning of Israel's strikes on Iran. Very little attention has been given to Israel's conduct in Gaza. Iran now says agreed. Trump, Israel and Iran agree to ceasefire. Iran have not received any ceasefire proposal. Israel declined to comment on ceasefire. Iran now says agreed to U.S. proposed ceasefire with Israel. All while Israel is still striking Iran, and Iran is still stating that they will strike Israel. Israel and U.S. going to strike again when they get close to the nuke, so this ceasefire is just a piece of paper to wipe your ass with? Dude, the Iran nuclear enrichment was simply a way to harden their position so they can actually maintain their civilian nuclear infrastructure. Okay? They were under no obligation to not enrich uranium because Trump had already destroyed the JCPOA and was already sanctioning them as though they had violated the JCPOA when they hadn't. Of course they're going to enrich uranium. What are you talking about? It is a way to try to gain leverage so that you can reduce the sanctions or just, end the sanctions entirely. Honestly, sad seeing so many Gen Z service members cheering this on like another forever war is something we need, being cutesy and acting like this is an immediate W. A lot of them weren't born in 2003. I mean, whatever, dude. I mean, they got their heart set out. They'll learn. They'll learn the lesson the hard way, I think. The fate of every active duty service member is to either, become the dumbest hog of all time, or to inevitably become a Hasan head and a dedicated anti-war veteran. That's it. There's only two ways for the Western man. In both ways, your wife is probably having sex with Jody. In both of those pathways, there are some similarities regardless. And you either learn the lesson the hard way and change trajectory, or or you just never learn that lesson and you continue and you become a Fox News commentator. USA still blew Iran's nuclear sites. Wouldn't that be a W for Israel nonetheless? No, dude. Why the f would that be a W for Israel? Israel doesn't give a shit about Iran's nuclear capabilities. America doesn't give a shit about Iran's nuclear capabilities. They don't have nukes. That's just a lie that they told everybody so they could justify going to war with Iran. What is happening? It's kind of interesting how quickly people will just go, yeah, these administrations that have lied in perpetuity and in broad daylight, I'm going to believe the things that they're telling me. Like, what happened? What happened to like a healthy dose of skepticism? This doesn't make any sense. If reports of a ceasefire between Israel and Iran are substantiated, expect an Iranian civil war between royalists and MEK supporters in exile. Rudy Giuliani has already fired the first shot on behalf of his MEK patrons. Yeah, the real civil war is going to be between the MEK and the royalists on who gets to be the true puppet for the inevitable Iranian regime change. Diplomat briefed on the ceasefire talks on Fox News. President Trump spoke with Qatar's emir and informed him the U.S. got Israel to agree with the ceasefire with Iran. The president asked Qatar to help persuade Iran to do the same. Following the Vice President Vance coordinated with Qatar's Prime Minister on the details. This effort proved successful, and following discussion with the Qatari PM and the Iranians agreed. The deal was coordinated at the highest level by the president and vice president and the Qatari emir and prime minister directly. Despite having been attacked just hours earlier, the Qataris set aside their grievances and prioritized regional security to get the deal done, the diplomat added. Iran did not get regime change by the collective West and Israel. They won easy. No, they didn't. They did not win. This is not a W for Iran. Okay? I mean, Israel, it's an L for Israel, but it's not a W for Iran. Please. Israel literally came in amidst negotiations with the West, showed that they had the capacity to actually manipulate Western nations and even the United States of America and bring them onto the cause, assassinated a ton of IRGC commanders, and established air superiority over key parts of Iran in the process, kept bombing Iran in the process. No, it's not a massive W for it's not a W for Iran at all. Yes, they avoided regime change for now. They avoided becoming a failed state for now. That doesn't mean that this ended. So Vietnam lost against the U.S.? No, Vietnam did not lose against the United States because Vietnam was able to literally stop the U.S. forces and become a singular state again, a state led by the Vietnamese. Iran and the regime change ambitions have not actually stopped. Defender always wins when they stop aggressor. No, because the aggressor has not stopped is what I'm saying. Do you think Israel is done? You think Israel is like, all right, I guess we just took this L, it's over? No, of course not. That's why I'm saying it's more so a spectacular defeat for Israel as opposed to a major victory for Iran. Seeing more reports on this, seems they definitely assassinated someone. Reports of possible assassination strike in Tehran.